With the election cycle heating up for 2024, are we about to see more and more deepfake images and videos of candidates? And is there anything we can do to stop them, or is it too late to put the genie back in the bottle? Coming up next on this episode of Today in Tech. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Today in Tech. I'm Keith Shaw. Joining me on the show today is Matthew Wright. He is the Director of Research for the Global Cybersecurity Institute at Rochester Institute of Technology. He is also a professor of computing security and a member of the Deepfake Project, an initiative of a team of researchers between RIT and the School of Journalism and Mass Communications at the University of South Carolina. Welcome to the show, Matthew.
Thank you very much.
Let's give me a little bit of a background on deep fakes in terms of the political situation, and how are you approached to work on this project that we'll talk about a little bit later. But tell me about your background in this arena.
Absolutely. So we started looking into deepfakes in 2019. There was an opportunity put out called the AI and Ethics in Journalism by the Harvard Berkman School. And it was, there were, I guess, 5 teams of folks working on different projects related to the intersection of AI, ethics, and journalism. And our project that we put forward was on detecting deepfakes, because we realized that, well, this is coming. We could see the technology and the obvious potential for creating misinformation, where you have a video that shows someone saying something that they never actually said.
Yeah.
And I think a really big example at about that time that had come out was of video of President Obama, and he was being made to say things that Jordan Peele, the actor Jordan Peele, was actually saying.
Okay.
And yep, so some things that he definitely never would say, at least not in public.
Right.
And we're watching that video going, wow, that's really good. It was like really high quality, and the potential for making world leaders and all sorts of other people say things that could be inflammatory, that could, cause wars. I mean, it's, just incredible potential for misinformation. And going, well, at the very least, what's going to be needed if you're a journalist is to know whether the video you're looking at is real or fake. So we put together a team with an expert in computer vision and an expert in journalism, and said, okay, well, can we develop a tool that would be helpful for detecting deepfakes? And we submitted that as a project, and then it got accepted, and we've been working on that ever since.
Okay, and can you tell me a little bit about how the tool works? Dig into the technology as deep as you can, but and then I'll just say stop at that point when it gets over my head.
Sure. So I think one way of looking at it is a little bit of fire to fight fire. So we know that there's these deep learning technologies that are being used to create the deepfakes, and these technologies are very powerful for lots of things. And another thing that we can use them for is to do the detection. So certainly our major efforts have been to develop new technologies using deep learning that can detect the deep fakes based on subtle signals that are actually, sometimes you and I can look at a deep fake and go, oh, that's fake.
Yeah.
That's really clear. But some of them are really high quality. I think a really well-known one at this point is of Tom Cruise. There's videos of Tom Cruise that were put out on TikTok, and you can also see them on YouTube, that are just really high quality. If you don't know that you're looking at a deep fake, you certainly could believe that they're Tom Cruise. And they're not just, I think when these things started out, it was all just like talking head videos, but that those Tom Cruise ones, he's moving around, he's shooting a golf shot. It's very impressive technology. So the signals on videos like that are really hard for the human eye to pick up, but there are some subtle things that are in there that a computer can find. So that's the technology we rely on sort of the most. But we're also looking into other techniques that can be more explainable. So deep learning technology, it's generally speaking, we think of it as a black box. We put some information in and we get some results out, and we don't really know what's going on in the middle. And one of the things that we found talking to journalists is that that's not very satisfactory for them, because even the best technology of these tools, maybe it's 99% accurate on some data set. Well, that still leaves you with this chance, 1% or more, that it's not telling you the correct answer right now. And if you're a journalist, you want to be able to say something with more rigor than that, if you can.
Yeah, it seems like with a lot of the images that come out, it hasn't gotten to the point where you can't look at it. You can sort of see an image of something that was created by an AI or a deep fake, and you can go, oh well, this person has 3 legs, or this person has 7 fingers, and you can go, oh well, that passes the eyeball test. But I think at some point we're going to get to a point where you're not going to see those visual glitches, and you're going to need something else. And so that's where this tool comes in, right? But then you're also developing it so you can explain why that certain image or video is fake versus a real photo, right?
Exactly. And that turns out to be really tricky because, like I said, if you just try to use the black box deep learning tools, they don't tell you much inherently. And so we're trying to develop other techniques that don't rely on those as much. And then maybe we'd be able to say something more concrete that is at the same time could be understood by a person. And I think it's a difficult line to walk, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Is it right now where it's a situation where you input the video or the image and it comes out, yes, it's fake, or no, it's not? Is that all the answers that you get, or do you get more information from the output?
Well, so we can definitely give more information than that. So for example, if we've got a video that's we'll process like 1 minute of video, and then within the minute, if there's some areas in terms of time that are fake, and then some that are not fake, or at least according to our detection, then we can tell you that. Right. So the first 10 seconds are fake and the rest of it is not fake.
Yeah.
And then another thing that we can provide is some measure of confidence. So basically how confident the tool is. Now I'll say that I don't find those outputs of the tool to be I don't think that they're the most reliable indicators, but at least we can tell sometimes, if it's, definitely it really thinks it's fake, or it really thinks it's not fake, versus it's somewhere in the middle. At least we can get that as an indicator. Yeah.
Now, since you started the project, there's been a number of different high profile examples of some deep fakes. Let's go through a couple of them. You mentioned the Obama video and the Tom Cruise one. There was, I think in our pre-call, you were talking about some Russia and Ukraine deep fakes that came about. Can you talk about those? And I've got a couple of others that I want to bring up.
Sure. So I think that this was probably the most serious, at least to date, use of deepfakes, which is at the beginning of the Russian invasion of Ukraine in March of last year. A video came out on each side. So one of President Zelensky of Ukraine and one of President Putin, and they each video showed their respective leaders saying comrades, lay down your arms. We are not going to be fighting this conflict anymore. And, the Zelensky one was not very high quality, but the Putin one was decent. I think if you look at it and you watch some video of Putin speaking and you watch the deepfake, you can see some differences between them. Mm-hmm. But I will say that my PhD student, he is interestingly enough half Ukrainian. He speaks Russian. He grew up in Russia until he was about 12. So he watches it and says, well, he thinks it's actually that the Putin one is actually pretty convincing.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, even if they fooled, just say a handful of people on each side, then that's enough to have potentially cost real lives on the battlefield.
Yeah, and there were some other examples that came out, and there was the one where there was an image of the Pope and he was wearing a puffy white jacket, and that wasn't as dire as some of these other ones that we're going to talk about.
For sure.
But it did fool a lot of people, and I'm wondering if it was fooled because it was on a different platform, whether it was Twitter or Instagram is where I saw it. And as I'm scrolling through my Instagram feed, the Pope, look how cool he looks, and then I kept going on. But I guess that was enough to trick me. I didn't really look at the image until I started seeing stories. Oh, that image is fake. But then there was another one where an image of the Pentagon having an explosion nearby, and that went around Twitter for about 2 or 3 minutes at least, and the markets were affected before someone came out and said, "Oh no, that's a fake." Are we going to see these types of incidents where an image or a video is going to be flung out to people, and then it's going to be up to the rest of the world to verify whether it's fake or not? Is that the future of this?
Absolutely. As far as I can tell, there's no stopping this. People are going to misuse these technologies. I think that some of the people that are making these tools are certainly being thoughtful about it, trying to do things like put in watermarks. So essentially just a bit of hidden information in the image, that any image that is produced by the tool is going to have that little secret in it.
Yeah.
And if anybody questions whether something's real, well, you'll be able to spot that secret if you know how to look for it. Or on the other side, that every image and every video that you take with your cell phone or any other digital camera can be stamped with something that says that this is the video, this is how it came out of the camera, without further manipulation, and that could be a sort of proof that it's not a deepfake, right? It comes from some kind of camera. But I think the problem that's always going to be an issue is, at least, for the foreseeable future, is that on the watermarking side, well, there are other people who can make the technologies and are making the technologies without putting those watermarks in them. So those videos are going to continue to be created, and some of them just will not have the watermarks. And so, we have to be aware that doesn't solve the problem fully.
Yeah.
And on the other side, that if there's, there could be a proof in a camera, if every camera that's made from right now in August of 2023 and for the foreseeable future is made with the signature capability, so that it always imprints that information in there. For all the people that are buying phones and cameras right now, plus all the people who have older ones, they're not going to have those capabilities. So they're going to take videos and post them, and are you going to say, well, that's fake because we don't have that proof? Well, you can't do that. Right. So,
I see a situation developing, especially in the political arena, where let's say one side comes out and says, oh, here's a video that we've got of your candidate, and he's doing something really bad. He's choking a puppy. And then the other side comes out and goes, oh, no, that's a fake. And then you start having these back and forth debates about, well, this is fake. No, this is real. Or if it is a real video, then they'll just claim it's fake. Whether it's, so they can claim that it's fake if it's real, and they can claim that it's real if it's fake. And you're just going to get back and forth. And I guess, the general public will have to somehow see if there's a third-party verification type system out there. But even those have been attacked before in terms of like the Truth Squad or whatever you get. So it just feels like it's going to just be a mess of yes, it is, no, it isn't. Yes, it is, no, it isn't. And I guess that's why tools like this would be helpful, right?
That's the idea. Yeah. I certainly think that there's going to be this rule for tools like ours and the others that people are creating to try to get past that issue. But I also do fear that even with the tools, there will be people who are putting this out. I think that the second case of what you're talking about is they call it the liar's dividend. Mm-hmm. That when there's situations where there's uncertainty, someone can come out and and just say, well, it's all fake. Everything's fake. You can't believe anything. This isn't real. Just believe whatever it is that I'm saying, and that's the truth. And we're all stuck in that world right now. So hopefully we can really develop these technologies effectively, so that there is at least some ground truth for those who want to and choose to seek out that information. Can find it.
What types of deep, I know this is a made up word, but deep fakery have you seen? Obviously you've seen images that have been faked and video, but also audio and text can be faked as well. Like, is there one that's more effective than the other, or is it all just depending on how it's presented?
Yeah, so definitely audio, text, images, and video. Basically, any media that can be digital, right, can be deepfaked. I think one of the differences that we see is that with video, you usually need to have some kind of source or original video to work with. Mm-hmm. If you try to generate those completely whole cloth, the technology isn't there yet to do that. But if you do have some kind of source video, say an original video of the president saying something, then you can modify that to make it the president saying something else. But images, we're seeing, as you mentioned with the Pope with a puffy jacket, you get a lot of these images that are getting better and better by the day. So that's certainly a concern. I think audio has become a real concern over the last 12 months as well. And we're seeing the quality of generated audio. If you just have a relatively small amount of source audio from whoever it is you're trying to imitate, then that's enough to now generate pretty high quality audio that will convince a lot of people. You can definitely, there's videos out there of people convincing their parents that it's them when it's actually AI generated version of them. And the potential to use that for both misinformation, but also for fraud is really high. I think that's a real danger that we're running into now. People are, I think, already using it for fraud.
Yep. Yeah. We've had some episodes that have discussed that as well. That's some scary stuff. But do you think this will have an impact on potential elections? Does a single video have the ability to swing an election, even though you've seen other sorts of methods such as attack ads or a polarized electorate? And there are two sides that will believe anything either way. Does this create a situation where you're going to have a mixture of fake videos and real videos, and people are just going to have their minds made up no matter what? Like, I think when we were discussing this earlier, you brought up this idea of confirmation bias. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So one of the things that I think you have to pay attention to is, if you think about how close the 2016 election was. Mm-hmm. I mean, the 2020 election was obviously also close, but the 2016 election, you're talking about just handfuls of votes in a few states, right? And then you think about, well, what's possible with the technology, and if someone was to put out, I mean, forget October surprise, November surprise, right? Mm-hmm. The day before the election, before anybody has time to debunk or at least for the debunking to take hold, you don't need people to see, people aren't available to watch every piece of news that comes out. But if they see the video, then they may, having seen it once, right, it's much harder for that to get removed from their mind. There's studies that are out there that have shown people will see a piece of fake news, and then it's like, wait a week, and then you ask them, and even though they've been told that it's not true, you wait a week and check with them again, and they now believe the fake news. Yeah. They don't remember the part where it wasn't true. So that could definitely have an impact on the next election. I think that's a real danger. And then I think, you brought up the point about confirmation bias. It's certainly the case that, even if it does get debunked, that if you have a fake video that's out there and people have a certain point of view, if it aligns with their point of view, then it's even that much easier for them to encapsulate that as yet one more piece of evidence that aligns with their way of thinking. And that's just that much harder to actually meaningfully debunk it. You can tell them it's not true, but that doesn't mean that it gets removed from their brain.
Yeah. Now, yeah. So were you thinking of putting this tool that you have made available to the general public, or why is it just that you're working with journalism or journalists? Because they also have an issue with trustworthiness. Sometimes, there's
right,
threats of bias as well. So why not make this available to anyone to just say, oh, is this video, or do they just have to go to like a website like Snopes, for example?
Yeah. So I think we have a few reasons why we wouldn't make the tool available to the general public. So one of them is just raw processing power. If we have, each one of these takes us using not like really like supercomputer level power, but significant computing power to process each video that gets requested. So as an academic institution, we don't have just unlimited gobs of computing power to throw at this. But even if we did, a couple other concerns that come up. So one of them is, like I said before, sometimes the tool can make mistakes. And, we've got AI and we're trying to develop more explainable methods, but in any case, we'll always have some mistakes. And so it's really important for someone using this technology to be able to put it into context and understand what the potential shortcomings are. If we develop more explainable methods, they'll probably be more complicated and require more expertise as well to understand. So I expect that will be a challenge where only some journalists are really going to be able to take advantage of those more detailed explanations of what's going on.
Yeah.
And then
go ahead.
Yeah. So a third area is the security of the tool itself. It's kind of like once we put it out there, if anybody can run videos through it, then they can take their deepfake and test to see just get detected as fake or real. Maybe I need to tweak it a little bit. And there's actually a whole line of technology called adversarial examples where someone can take whether it's a video or image and manipulate it bit by bit until it still pretty much looks the same as far as, being still the whatever it is that they wanted to create. But now instead of being classified as fake by the tool, it gets classified as real. And if we give open access to the tool, we make it that much easier for attackers to do that.
Okay, that just made me a little bit more depressed, I think. How complicated are these tools that are creating these deep fakes? Is it getting easier and easier for people to create their own fakes? And because then I have a follow-up question too, if it is getting easier.
Yeah. So I think on the one hand, certainly the technology gets easier. And one of the things that we see now is that there's generative AI that is able to make things, and it's mostly images right now, but video is eventually going to be coming, that are based entirely off of a text description. So you just type in the prompt. So another example is when President Trump got arrested, they had these images that somebody created,
right,
based on the prompt, Trump being, President Trump being arrested.
Yeah. Or Trump perp walk, I think someone was one of them. Yeah.
Right. So the Trump perp walk images that got created and spread around, and they weren't perfect for sure. So there's still some ways to go for the technology, but they're pretty convincing, especially if you're just, scrolling on your phone. You might go, oh, there it is. There's the image of Trump getting arrested. Look at that.
Yeah. So with the idea that these can be created relatively quickly, I guess my concern is that whether this was just going to be done on a national scale where you're talking about like a presidential election, or do you think we're also going to then see it kind of trickle down into even a local election? Could if a local election for a school board in one little town is close enough, could you start seeing these deep fakes showing up in those, or is it just a waste of time in that it's more important to go after the big fish?
I think that all of these types of elections, I mean, if they're contentious enough, I hope that most people's school boards aren't that bad, but you never know.
I used to be a school board reporter in Florida, and they got pretty contentious down there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, so I think it certainly could pop up in situations like that. And so I think it's important to have as many journalists that other researchers and fact checkers to be trained on tools like this to be able to make detection quickly. I think it's a really critical issue. And it's hard to keep up.
Does it become an arms race between you guys and other deep fake tech detecting tools, versus the the tools that are out there that are not only creating them, but now looking to see if their creation is detected, and then they tweak it, like you said earlier. Does it become an arms race, almost like with the hacking community?
Yeah, I think it's that's a great way to put it. That we can develop detection techniques, and we hope, and it is mostly the case, that the people who are creating the tools to make deep fakes are mostly being responsible, and trying to put things out that either, for example, have watermarks, like we talked about before, or aren't just broadly available to the public, or have some kind of filters on them to prevent them, at least in most of the time, from being used for misinformation.
Yeah,
that we can hope that they're being as responsible as possible. But we know that there's bad actors out there who will take the same technology and develop it further on their own, that explicitly seeks to undermine detection capabilities. And we, are trying to keep up as much as possible so that isn't going to prevent our work from being useful.
Yeah. Now, as a cybersecurity professor, are you generally optimistic or pessimistic about the future? Because I would imagine I've talked to a lot of cybersecurity guys, and some of these people are just like, "Oh my gosh, I don't sleep well at night because I'm just always thinking about the next threat." So, how do you classify yourself in that space?
Yeah, I guess I'm lucky to have just been born generally optimistic as a person, but I'm experienced enough to know that doesn't always pan out, and that some things do go wrong. So I just try to keep it balanced, and I know I can't solve all the problems, and we just try to do our best, and look for solutions whenever possible that are not just, I think one of the things that we can get caught up in the arms race and the cat and mouse game in cybersecurity a lot. And I think what we look for is ways to take the game to a really next higher level, that it's not just one single step at a time, but that we can actually make a big enough improvement on the security front that it's going to be a longer lasting and more useful defense in the long run.
Is there any aspect of this technology that made you go, wow, that's surprising? Or was there any surprising aspect about, oh, I didn't realize computing could do this, or that this technology could do this? Or was it the speed at which it can be done now? Was there anything that jumped out at you that made you go, wow, either wow, good, or wow, people are evil?
I feel like I'm getting surprised all the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. With the generative AI that's coming out, it feels like it's a whole different ballgame already. Even though we have been still just trying to work on the deepfake technologies from 2017, 2018. Some of the better videos from that era are still not easy by any stretch, and now we're dealing with a whole nother additional set of technologies at the same time. So yeah, it keeps us on our toes, that's for sure.
All right, well, I'm going to let you get back to your work of making sure that we can detect these deepfakes. So I want to thank you for being on the show today.
Thanks a lot, Keith. It was fun.
All right. That's all the time we have for today's episode. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, add any comments that you have below. Join us every week for new episodes of Today in Tech. I'm Keith Shaw. Thanks for watching.